Having completed the Oxford Pilots course with flying colours, Andrew went to Phoenix, Arizona for 6 weeks in July and August to begin the practical part of his training to become a commercial pilot. In September, the family gathered at Shire Oaks to celebrate Mum and Dad's 60 years of marriage, beginning with a rededication service and followed by a PowerPoint presentation entitled The Mum and Dad Story. We 6 children each taking a decade of marriage, with me starting in the 1950s. Finally, we made our way to the Van Dyke Hotel for a celebratory lunch. Following this, Jan and I drove over to Skipton for a short break. At Morton Pinckney, Richard Lingard organised a radio showtime in the church, harking back to the days of the BBC in the 1940s. Barbara Bartlett put on a Heidi-Hi show at Chipping Warden, at which Janet and Angie sang the song Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? On the 20th of October we drove over to Chepstow to take possession of our new house in Penterry Park. We stayed overnight and filled out the forms for Jan's Welsh bus pass. We followed this with 3 further visits at fortnightly intervals, each time taking with us a car full of furniture, plants and other assorted possessions. After that the weather became too bad for travelling. After train delays due to heavy snowfall, Paul eventually made the journey to Culworth, where he prepared material for the course in computer programming which he began teaching in the new year. A number of church services, including 2 midnight Holy Communions, had to be cancelled over the Christmas holiday. On Christmas Eve and Christmas Day I was transported everywhere in 4x4 vehicles driven by kind parishioners. 3 days later the snow began to thaw, and so Paul, Jan and I drove down to Chepstow and then over the bridge to Bristol, where we spent a pleasant evening with Catherine and Skye. This year Steve Nunn gave us 3 brace of pheasants, which Jan prepared and cooked for our Christmas meals. 2011 saw an even colder winter. The -10-degree weather triggered the Chepstow Conservatory central heating frostat, resulting in steep gas bills. Sadly, we discovered a frozen chaffinch under some leaves in the rectory porch, and our palm tree at Chepstow met a similar fate. Or so we thought, until 2 years later, when the shoots of a new palm tree from its deeply buried roots appeared on the surface. With my 60th birthday looming, I informed the diocese of my intention to retire at the end of June, and at Easter chaired my final annual meetings for each of the parishes. Elizabeth, John and Andrew came over to stay on the eve of my 60th birthday, and we celebrated with an Indian meal, Cobra beer and Monopoly. Chipping Warden and Culworth schools both gave me a splendid send-off. On Sunday the 16th of June I conducted the final service in the benefice at Culworth Church, It was packed with full choir and bell ringers. It was very moving. Afterwards, in the village hall, the farewell luncheon went very well. There was a very nice atmosphere, a most pleasant event. Some statistics. During the 21 years of parish life, I organised and conducted 2,537 services, 434 parochial church council meetings, 523 school assemblies, 237 baptisms, 123 weddings, 340 funerals, and 59 confirmation candidates, and met a wide variety of interesting people while engaged in these occasional offices. For instance, the wedding of Stephen and Mina Beardsley, who invited Jan and I to their reception at the Wherry, where we ate a Thai meal and met their friends from Malaysia and Japan, where they both worked as teachers. It was very enjoyable. Memorable funerals included that of Frank Montgomery, a relative of the Field Marshal, who had been a dental technician and dentist for many well-known figures. Frank had recalled to me something that he had witnessed in the North African desert in 1942. Most of the time the landscape was barren. When the rain did fall, flowers of all sorts and colours appeared overnight. It was a miracle, he said. Then I was asked to take the funeral of a 27-year-old man who died in a car crash. His divorced parents had still not settled their differences and argued about every detail, including the name that should be used on the gravestone. On the stone were engraved a picture of his car, a cartoon character, the Ipswich Football Club logo, and the inscription, "Cruising the Highways of Heaven." Now some clergy I know would not have signed that memorial application form. His mother tied balloons and streamers to a nearby tree and placed garden gnomes to guard the grave. The Bramleys of Gillingham Hall and other visitors to the churchyard complained about all of this, and one day the mother had a tussle with another woman over some plastic flowers. The next day Pickfords arrived at 9:30 a.m. and discharged their duties efficiently, leaving us by 4:30 p.m. We finished cleaning the house throughout, took the keys to Josie Rowling and set off for Chepstow. The following day the movers were equally efficient, finishing the job by 3 o'clock. One of my first jobs involved refitting more securely the hanger rails in our 5 built-in wardrobes, which had given way under the strain of all our clothes. The next job involved fitting shelves in the garage and in Jan's study. Mum and Dad came to stay for 5 days, and we had a number of outings to the Kimmin, the Eagle's Nest, and took a picnic to Chepstow Park to listen to the folk band Camina. On an excursion to the Brockwere Moravian Chapel, Jan forgot to pack the sandwiches, and so on our return we placed the picnic chairs in the garden and ate them there. With Skye, we drove up to Llanrynn, near Machellith, to stay with Paul, and visited the Centre for Alternative Technology, where he had been working for 6 months over the summer. While there we explored some of the local countryside. Skye came to visit with his friend Sophie. They enjoyed the local park and climbing the conker tree by our garage, and on the Sunday we walked the 8 miles up to the Eagle's Nest and back through Pierceville Park. From the top we could just about see, with binoculars, our house. Jan and I went to Cheltenham to homestead again for 12 days. I watched many of the Rugby World Cup matches being played in New Zealand during this stay. And while there we researched in the town and on the internet and bought ourselves 4 pairs of Merrill walking sandals for £65, the price of each pair normally, which were in a sale at Black's. We also purchased an assortment of clothes including jumpers, hats and shirts, and checked out a potential Yamaha digital clavicorder piano that we were considering buying with the gifts we had been given of £1,700 at Geldeston and Culworth. We ordered online a Burgos lightweight jacket, 2 35-litre Carrymore rucksacks, an Amazon Kindle, a compact laptop for £300, and to keep an eye on the conservatory temperature, a Maxmin digital radio thermometer. Jan and I joined the Chepstow branch of the University of the Third Age. Jan joined the science and singing groups and I joined the Y Notes music group. There are so many baby boomers retiring at the moment that membership of U3A has rocketed and many groups are oversubscribed. Jan and I visited Ted Darling, who we were told was starting a ukulele class. He had been a black and white minstrel and played the ukulele for them. However, it transpired that he was not looking to form a group as we had hoped, but merely to get individuals on the road to learning for themselves. As well as taking part in a counselling course, Catherine began to put the dog walking that she does on a more business footing by taking out insurance, setting up a website and buying a dog trailer. As well as taking a teacher training course, Paul was giving an evening class to teach computer programming to adults. Paul came to stay and he worked on the website that he was creating for a photographer in North Wales. He also brought his drums and we played a few numbers together. In October we drove to Daventry and joined Elizabeth and John on their recently purchased boat Adagio, which they were bringing down from Burton-on-Trent to Aldermaston. At Banbury 2 days of repairs were required before we could continue down the Thames to Reading. At Christmas the cats Mitzi and Betsy came to stay in Chepstow. Mitty attempted to climb up the chimney and his back legs were grabbed just in time. Elizabeth and John brought Mum and Dad over from Old Basing, where they had been staying over Christmas. At the start of 2012, with Microsoft Live Movie Maker, I produced a number of videos under the Chris and Jan Story banner, and 8 Y Valley Walks videos, which I uploaded to YouTube. An enjoyable process of choosing the best photographs, editing videos, and adding voice audio and recordings of music that we have played in the past. Jan and I started taking the bus to Monmouth each week to study web design at the Collie Gwent Learn It Centre. Paul came to stay and managed to find a French version of Dreamweaver that he could install in our old computers, as Windows 7 refused to receive it. This was very useful as we were now able to repeat and so reinforce each web design lesson at home. Following the end of the web design course, I began to create my Lowen Lodge website. I now undertook courses 2 and 3 at Monmouth, and being a student of web design, I was able to purchase from Adobe their student edition CS6 design and web package, which included Dreamweaver and Photoshop, for just over £300, which is about a third of the normal price. I also bought a 26-inch screen and keyboard to operate in conjunction with my laptop. For my birthday, Jan brought me Dreamweaver CS60 for Dummies. Paul came to stay and helped me upload the Lowen Lodge website onto his server, and he also shared some of the exercises that he was using with his web design students. Jan and I obtained our local resident free passes to Chepstow Castle, and I spent half a day there taking photographs and notes. At home I used Live Movie Maker to create 2 video journeys through the castle and its history. Over the next few years there were over 3,000 visits on YouTube to view these. We went over to Bristol to help Catherine build a shed for her bicycle and dog trailer. It was very cold, but we kept going and eventually put the roof on just before it got dark. When we returned home, I tried to ring Catherine to suggest that she didn't use the shed until we had returned to complete the job and ensured that it was safe enough to use. However, we couldn't get through. Later she told us on her mobile phone that her broadband and television cable link were not working. It seems that when I was digging out the ground for the shed foundation, I cut through the cable. When we returned to complete the job, the telephone engineers were there, and kindly no charge was made for their visit. Jan and I went to stay at Shire Oaks with Mum and Dad, where we cleared the garden of unwanted foliage and weeds, painted the back gate, and cut a hole in the 10-foot-high Leylandi hedge. We ordered from Argos 3 6-drawer chests and 5 bedside chests, which we proceeded to build over the following fortnight. The bedside chest parts were inaccurately made, and so I had to make adjustments to each one so that the drawers would close smoothly. In a skip we found some discarded lengths of 2x1 wood, which I used in repairing and renovating the old blue chests of drawers and bedside cabinets. These we then placed in the guest bedroom. Colin from Plums came to recover the lounge suite that we originally bought in Onchan 30 years before. After this, Jan produced some lovely cushion and footrest covers in the same colour of jade, and I fixed wooden slats from the wood we had found in the skip to give more support to the chair cushions. Jan and I decided to create a vegetable plot by the garage and found that we first had to remove many large stones and then dig compost into the clay soil. Not one worm was found, a problem throughout the garden, so we purchased 50 worms online and gave them a new home in the plot together with seed potatoes. Glynis from Cats Protection League brought a cat named Narnia with her 5 kittens for us to foster until homes were found for them. She was a stray who had given birth to the kittens in someone's wardrobe, hence her name. They had to be kept indoors in the conservatory, so we bought a very large dog cage to house them when the windows and doors were open. John and Pam came to stay with us. It rained the whole time that they were here, but we made the best of it, taking short walks, playing music, watching the Wimbledon final, and playing Trivial Pursuit.
No, Mummy's trying to leave.
Pussy.
Where?
Wait for the camera.
Where?